The opinions expressed within the content of this podcast solely that of our guests and do not reflect the views and beliefs of the Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast, its hosts or its affiliates.
The sun sinks low in the Allegheny Pines. There's a shadow moving between the timberlines. The city folks are sleeping, but the woods are wide awake. And there's more than just a wind making the laurel shake. Down a dirt track road where the cell service dies sits a man with a mic and the truth in his eyes. He's broadcasting live from the cryptid cabin floor, deep in Pennsylvania behind a bolted door. It's Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters tonight, shining a lantern on the things that shun the light. Yeah, Dave Bruce is the pilot and the haunting stars now, so pour a stiff drink and wipe the sweat from your brow. Saturday night, 7 o'clock on the dot. The YouTube feed is humming and the tubes are getting hot. From the hair on a squatch to the ghost in the hall. If it's weird, if it's wild, yeah, Dave's heard it all. He ain't looking for fame, he ain't looking for gold. Just the stories that the world is too damn scared to be told. He's broadcasting live from the cryptid cabin floor, deep in Pennsylvania behind a bolted door. It's Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters tonight, shining a lantern on the things that shun the light. Yeah, Dave Bruce is the pilot and the haunting stars now. "7 p.m. Eastern. The woods are calling your name. You're in the cabin now. Welcome to the show."
Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast with your hosts Dave Bruce, Karen Reynolds, and Billy Reynolds. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. And now your host, Dave Weichert.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. We got a good show for you tonight, and our guest is going to be coming in a little while. We're going to play a video before we really get things started. But before we do that, let me go bring in my co-host. All right, let's see here. Button didn't want to work there for a second. I'm sorry. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing, Dave. How you doing tonight?
All right, I'm doing good. Oh, there went my pen. Let me just I'll just grab another one real quick. Leaning into the screen. There we go. All right. So what we're going to do is, before we open the chat room, just let the listeners know that we'll be taking questions from the listeners in a little bit, but we're going to play a video first. So let's go to that video, and here we go.
Home that we are now in.
Being made a
We visited this home for the very first time, interviewed the families concerning the phenomena that was taking place. To them. The phenomena began quite a while ago, but began to climax at this time. We are in their home
The rain seems a little shy
again
tonight.
today on February 14th, 1986.
Their haunting was so disturbing. Some parts were too dark even for the movie. Now, let's step into one of America's darkest horror cases.
In 1986, Jack and Janet SMURL went public with the story of demons invading their West Pittston home.
being made afraid to live is what it has come down to.
Jack SMURL told of the living nightmare, one that included levitations, screams in the night, his kids and dogs thrown around by ghouls, and a violent ghost that raped him.
Pick the mattress up and drop it, but very rapidly. Like this. Like that. Like this looks like a carpet, just like a carpet, like you would, a housewife would have a carpet and shake.
You go to bed waiting, listening to make sure that the children will not be hurt.
This pair tried to rid evil spirits with the presence of God. After a night in the SMURL home, their reaction?
It's very powerful. It's invisible. I don't care if you want to call it a devil or a ghost or a demon. There's something in this home which has the intelligence to inflict physical and psychological harm upon this family.
It is still considered one of the most contentious cases in paranormal history, as well as the case that Ed and Lorraine Warren were unable to solve. Sometime in the early 1980s, a 37-year-old housewife named Janet SMURL was alone in her basement, loading the machine with her family's soiled clothes. Her 4 children were all at school, and her husband Jack was at work. Janet was lost in contemplation as she loaded the washing machine and pressed the start button, and for a brief minute, she believed she had been called. She paused, and the washing machine began to speed up. Janet shook her head, plainly mistaken, and collected the basket before turning to leave. Before she could respond, she heard it again. Janet froze on the spot. There was no denying it this time. She'd heard someone shout her name. A female voice. There was nobody else in there. The voice muttered again, but this time from behind her. The voice would puncture the air a couple more times before she could reach the steps. "What do you want?" she exclaimed. Dawn and here were the couple's first two daughters. Janet left employment to be a full-time mother, and the pair was especially close to Jack's parents, John and Mary SMURL, with whom they shared a home. The events, as in so many of similar situations, began as little incidents.
We are in their home again today on February 14, 1986. The very first thing that happened in this home happened to you, I believe, Janet. That's correct.
That was the night of Heather's confirmation. That was on April the 29th, 1985. Heather and Shannon and myself were in the kitchen, and I was pinning her collar onto her communion or her confirmation robe. And we have a 4-foot by 2-foot ceiling light. And it came without no warning at all. In a matter of a split second, it came crashing down onto the kitchen table. And it wasn't like a light that had broken naturally. It just came crashing down. And it gouged Shannon on the forehead. And it gouged a mark onto the refrigerator. And this was about a half an hour before we went to church.
Okay, now when was it, Janet? That you were down in the basement?
The very next day, after the confirmation, I was down in the basement doing clothes. I have my washer and dryer down there. And I had turned away from the washer. I was just getting ready to come upstairs to the kitchen, and I heard this female voice, and she said, Janet, very clear. And I thought it was my sister. I said, I'll be right up. Well, when I got to the top of the steps, of course, there was no one there. And I was alone in the house. The front door was locked. There was no way that anybody could have gotten into the top.
All right. Okay, now also, Janet, I remember you relating to us about coming up from doing the laundry and a pole lamp. You don't have to pole lamp, honey.
No, it's not a pole lamp. Well, it's a table lamp. There it is right there.
All right.
Over in the corner. When the children went out to school and it brightened up in the room, so I turned the light out. I went upstairs to make the bed and collect the laundry. And when I came down, the lamp was on again. And I stopped and I thought, didn't I turn that light out? So I turned the light off again. I went into the kitchen and did the dishes, and I was going down to do the laundry, and I came up and the light went on again. This happened about 4 or 5 times within an hour.
Jack and Janet had nearly accepted the fact that there was something other than themselves in their home. It had been years, and while it could be creepy at times, it was generally harmless. Then one night,
one in particular where you heard this howl coming from the dog, and the dog was sleeping right next to you on the floor. You put your hand on top of the animal, and you realized that it was not coming out of your dog at all. Relate that experience, Jack, as it occurred to you in the bedroom.
Okay, one night we were laying in bed, we weren't sleeping as yet, and sinus started to howl, and it wasn't like a normal howl, okay? It was like something I would describe from the graveyard type. Very hair-raising type howling.
and it lasted for a long time, over a minute. Okay, and what I tried to do first was I tried to take my hand off of the bed to pet Simon. And something was holding my hand back. And I couldn't move it. It was
something
just
invisible, though.
right. And I couldn't move my hand. And so I kept trying to push it forward, but I couldn't do it, so I pulled it the opposite way. And it finally let go. Then I put my hand on Simon, and the howling continued all this time. I put my hand on Simon, and Simon was fast asleep. He was laying on his side with all four legs, on the, like on his side, fast asleep. Very unaware of what was going on.
Certainly was not coming from the outside.
No, and it went in. No part of his body was moving at all. I had my hand right on his stomach, towards his shoulders, and there was no movement in Simon whatsoever.
By the time 1983 arrived, the family were met by a phenomena that would be consistently appearing throughout their remaining years in the home. A foul smell would appear and spread through the house, but they could never find the source for it. Around this time, John and Mary were becoming concerned about their son and his wife. They began to hear arguments, clear as day through the wall.
The biggest problem we had in relationship to that, causing the problem between the families, the only problem we had that we can recall was my aunt was staying over my mother's for a couple of years because she was, trying to get an apartment over here at the high rise for elderly people. Okay. And we noticed in the summertime that my mother, my aunt, were talking to Janice. Right. So this
They weren't talking with
They weren't talking to us at all. They were ignoring us. So I told Janet, I said, Janet, we can't let this thing go on any longer. I said, we got to you got to confront my mother and find out what's going on. So she went over to my mother's one day, and she talked to my mother. She says, "Mom, why are you mad at us?" And my mother said, "Well," she said, "you should ask us." She said, "You and Jack had such a terrible argument a couple of weeks ago, and the foul language you were using." She said, "I never heard of such a thing, and I never knew that you two were capable of ever having an argument like that." And Janet and I looked at each other, and of course, we didn't have no argument like that, and we don't use that kind of language, and it never happened. But yet her and my aunt
Both heard that.
Both heard it clearly coming from our house. And we never had an argument. As a matter of fact, we had probably even had a tiff in 6 months.
One summer evening in 1985. Janet was abruptly grabbed from the bed by an invisible force.
What other incidents, Janet, can you think of?
Well, I have been pulled out of bed.
Oh, yeah. That's your bedroom is where a good deal of the phenomena has occurred, where Janet sleeping on this side of the bed has been pulled out by her leg.
However, Jack and Janet were not the only ones who were suffering. Mary and John continued to witness strange phenomena around their half of the duplex.
Grandma was washing, and she felt that she had a towel around her, that she was being pushed
into the
towards the tub, and she has the safety bars, and she said she was holding on to the safety bar.
It was that frightening
because she really thought she was going to go into the tub.
Now, your mother on the other side also was explaining to us about seeing something she described as like a small black animal.
The first time that she saw this thing, she was watching television, and she said all of a sudden this black animal ran right past her to the corner of a love seat that she had in her living room. And She said like it ran under or into the couch. But she said there's no way it could go under the couch because there is not enough room. She said all she could see is the back end of that it had no tail, and she couldn't see the face or a head.
Janet began researching as much as she could, consuming book after book on the paranormal in an attempt to figure out what was going on and how to deal with it. Priests who were friends of the family visited the house twice and blessed it. Each time this occurred, the activity was temporarily subdued. But the energy returned with a vengeance. Janet's buddy referred her to a university professor who was interested in the paranormal. His interest in the subject was entirely academic, and that while he couldn't provide her with a solution, he had met two others who might. That's when he gave Janet the phone number for Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren are a married pair who may be the most well-known paranormal investigators of all time. At this point, the Warrens claimed to have investigated more than 3,000 paranormal cases around the world. The Warrens sat at the kitchen table with Janet and Jack, drinking coffee and starting the interview. The couple stated that they felt scared as they moved about the house.
Being made afraid to live is what it has come down to.
Lorraine informed the SMURLs that she had detected 4 presences in their home. She described one as an elderly woman who appeared disoriented and probably suffering from dementia before dying. She appeared to be harmless. Lorraine described the second spirit as mad and angry. It belonged to a younger woman. The third was a male. Lorraine knew he had a mustache and was capable of violence, but not much else. The fourth was not a ghost at all. It was a demon that appeared to be capable of commanding the other spirits. It had most likely been on the property for decades, but had been reawakened by the SMURL family. This demon would feed off the family like they were batteries. The Warrens would reportedly spend months investigating the residence, accumulating photographic and recorded evidence. The Warrens' major goal was to get the local church involved and have an exorcism performed on the
Okay, Billy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Question: How did that video play on your end?
So that video, unfortunately, was really choppy. Probably about every 3 to 4 words, it was basically buffering. Like it wasn't showing like it was buffering, but it was like pause, 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 to a point where it was really hard to track with it.
Okay. So the last time I played a video, not the last time, but many moons ago when I played a video and it was choppy on my end, I stopped it. And everybody else said, oh, it was fine. Not on our end. So I think this issue happens to be on my end. Why? I don't know. But let's go ahead and see how it actually. What I want to do now is I want to bring in our guests. So without further ado, let's bring out MAXIM FUREK to the show. Hopefully we don't have any more issues, but it could be on my end. There we go.
How you doing, Dave?
All right. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry about that video, but I just wanted to, get some of the information out there. And let me just click over to, let's see, my notes here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by asking you, can you describe the SMURL haunting in your own words for those who may not be familiar with it?
Yeah, I could, Dave. How do I get rid of that paranormal author there that's like right across my face? Do I need to do that, or could you do it at your end? I might have written that. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I think that's on your end.
Okay, well, okay. Well, I think I'd have to go to the beginning, and I know I'm going to screw it up, so let's just go with this. This is fine. No, okay, that's good. Okay. Okay, ask the question again. It was about what happened with the SMURL haunting?
Yes, can you describe the SMURL hauntings in your own words for those who may not be familiar with the haunting?
Yeah, it was a kick-ass haunting. Took place in the 80s. And here in Northeast, I know you're from Pennsylvania, right? You're from Bucks County?
That's correct.
Okay. Around 1972, we had the Agnes flood here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And what happened was the Wilkes-Barre area, the largest city in NEPA, was just flooded. I mean, days and days and days of incessant rain. The storm, that was Hurricane Agnes, went out to sea, and then it came back, and it dumped more water on Wilkes-Barre, which couldn't take it. So it's just like really bizarre. But Wilkes-Barre got flooded out. A place called 40 Fort, and this is pretty gross, but a place called 40 Fort, the water went underneath 40 Fort. It erupted. It just catapulted the cemetery. And all of those coffins and cadavers and skeletons were just floating down the roads. I mean, coffins and skeletons. It was really pretty grotesque. But that was what came, the remnants of Hurricane Agnes. So anyway, Jack and Janet SMURL they were flooded out, so they moved to West Pittston, Pennsylvania, which is a very nice bucolic town, tree-lined streets, very nice, nice neighborhood. And they were there in the 80s, and then slowly, little by little, as was indicated in that video that you were showing, and parts of that were really good, by the way. So things started to happen. They would hear knocks, they would hear voices, they would hear grunting sounds, smells, rooms that should have been, wired up for heat would all of a sudden be maybe 30, 40, 50 degrees, really, really cold. So things like that happen. A brand new television exploded. a chandelier dropped down and almost killed one of the kids. So it just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. And then the culmination of all this, there were a couple of things, as far as I know. One was the family German Shepherd Simon was levitated and flung across the room. And there's a bunch of theories about this. And one theory is that it wasn't demonic energies that did this, Billy, but they thought that maybe it was Dawn SMURL had what Stephen King talked about psychokinetic energies, that she had these energies and she didn't know how to really control them. And so she inadvertently picked up Simon and flung him across the thing. So that's one theory. We really don't know, but that was one. They showed that in Conjuring Last Rites, one of the few elements of accuracy that Conjuring Last Rites got. The rest of the motion picture was just fictitious. It was made up. The story in Conjuring Last Rites was basically about Judy Warren, that was Ed and Lorraine's daughter, and her being stalked by the demon and the mirror and everything else. As far as I know, Judy Warren never stepped foot in the SMURL haunting at the SMURL house there in West Pittston. So this was just something that they contrived. And I'm wondering why, because even if Conjuring Last Rites would have had a discussion about the Catholic Church deciding whether or not they wanted to go in there with the exorcist and cleanse the house, that would have been a better story than Judy Warren. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I saw the motion picture twice, and I saw the similarity to my book. I tell people, if you want a true representation of the book, and Dave, I don't know if you could pull up that picture of my book that I threw over there to you. There you go, the SMURL haunting, and when Ed and Lorraine came to town. So that's a picture I took of Ed and Lorraine in 1988. And they were on a 15-city book tour to promote The Haunted, which was the story about the SMURL haunting. It was written by Robert Curran. He was a journalist from northeastern Pennsylvania. And actually, Curran, I worked with him at the Sunday Independent. At one time, Wilkes-Barre had 3 major newspapers. And so I knew Bob, and he wrote this book. And Ed and Lorraine Warren and Jack and Janet SMURL were the co-writers for the book. So anyway, I heard that Ed and Lorraine were going to be in Jim Thorpe, so I got permission to go out there and hang out with them. I took pictures, I interviewed them, tape recorded them, and then I kept in touch with them over the years. They were really gracious to me. They were very nice. They were mentors, I thought. And I would ask Ed about the SMURL haunting. I would ask Ed about how he did battle with demonic forces, and he would explain that to me. He would sort of take me by the hand and just explain to me some of the intricacies of demonology. And as your listeners know, Ed and Lorraine Warren were the foremost. They were the ambassadors of demonology. They were the pioneers of demonology. They were Roman Catholic demonologists, and really they hit that level. They reached that level of accomplishment before anybody else. I mean, they were the biggest names in demonology. Right on the heels of motion pictures from 1968. What we have? Rosemary's Baby. We had The Exorcist around 1972, somewhere around there, and then we had the Omen a little bit later. So that was the troika. Those were the 3 motion pictures that just did so well at the box office, but just showed us that there was a real hunger for information about the demonic. So that's when Ed and Lorraine stepped into the picture, right around that time.
Billy, you have a question?
I do. So you mentioned the Haunted movie, and in that video, Dave was attempting to play. One of the things Janet was saying was that it was her sister calling out to her. Now, in the Haunted, they showed it as her mother-in-law that was always doing those calling outs. Would that have been like a different incident, Or did Hollywood take a liberty there that seems like it kind of would have injured their credibility when you see both of those side by side?
Yeah. No, there were a whole lot of liberties taken in that motion picture. The most dramatic part of the SMURL haunting was when Ed was raped by the succubus, the female demon, and they showed a little portion of it. They showed him levitating, and it was very surreal. It was hard unless you knew the story. You don't really know what was happening.
Right.
They did show the Simon, the German Shepherd, with Judy Warren, which it was Dawn Warren's dog, or the family dog, but Dawn's favorite. So there were some things there that just didn't make sense. Right in the beginning, they showed nice little bucolic West Pittston with these factories in the background, and that wasn't true. I mean, any coal mine or factories were like miles away. So anyway, that was just part of the thing. But I mean, it was a fun movie. I love all the Conjuring motion pictures. I really do. But I mean, it's not a true, authentic motion picture. My book, The SMURL Haunting, When End of the Rain Came to Town, is a valid representation of what happened there in West Pittston. And I know because that was in my backyard. I live like maybe 35 minutes away from West Pittston. I lived in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. And then I also met, in the rain. And then, Dave, I don't know if you could pull up that picture of me and Dan Rivera and Annabelle. I hear dogs. I hear the dog man. So there's a picture there of me and Dan Rivera and Annabelle.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was muted. I am looking. I don't see. Was it just a picture of the two of you with Annabelle, or?
Hang on. Here it is again. Okay, there's that. Okay, and then okay, let me do one more. Yeah. Good. Okay, so this was taken in Friday, July the 11th, 2025. This was in Gettysburg, and this is during the Devils on the Run tour. So I had a chance to go there and see Annabelle, that's in the back, and meet Dan Rivera. This was on the 11th. Dan agreed to do an in-depth phone conversation with me on the SMURL haunting and aspects of demonology. And that was supposed to be on the 14th when he went back to Connecticut. Unfortunately, Dan died the day before. He died on the 13th. And the coroner said that Dan had cardiac issues, and he most likely died from a heart attack. But if you, Dave, if you pull up that picture of me and the Psychic Vincent sisters, there they are. They're from Butler, Pennsylvania. And I met them at the Butler Paranormal Conference. But anyway, that's Suzanne on the right and Jeannie. And when Dan Rivera died, a lot of people were saying, well, at least Tony Spira and the New England Society for Psychic Research were saying, let's not talk about this. Let's keep it quiet. Let's keep it on the down low. Let's let the Rivera family grieve in peace. And I said, no, you don't have to dictate how the Rivera family is going to grieve. They will grieve in their own time, in their own way. But let's talk about what happened to Dan Rivera. He died, and he died either from cardiac issues, as the coroner said, or as the Psychic Vincent sisters said, and let's hit that again if you would. Psychic Vincent sisters said that he died from being worn down from the demonic energies of Annabelle, because Dan Rivera dealt with Annabelle, with all these tours. And in 2025, they took Annabelle out of the Warren Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut, and brought her around to San Antonio, to the West Virginia Penitentiary, to New Orleans, and then finally to Gettysburg at the orphanage. And we know what happened there. Along the way, they made a lot of money. They probably grossed around $200,000 just with those 4 gigs that they did, including Gettysburg. And then they went on their way up to Maine. Oh, you're talking about Mommy of Two. You're talking about 44. Yeah, the coffins, Agnes flood of 1972. That was horrific. And, the coffins and the bones and everything were just like pretty wicked. Dave, did you or Billy, have you guys heard about that, about the Agnes flood and the coffins in 44? Yeah, it's a true story. Yeah. Yeah, pretty bizarre.
I'm aware of the Agnes flood, but I definitely didn't know about the the raising of the cemetery, basically, or the coffins going down the street.
Yeah. In 44, yeah, it was. The people still talk about that to this day. Just like, and then Dan Rivera dies, July of 2025, and then right after that, I don't know if you folks remember what happened. It was a really big news, tremendous news in the world of the paranormal. And what happened was the stand-up comic Matt Rife purchased the contents of the Ed and Lorraine Occult Museum. Now, purchased, leased, I don't know the intricacies. Nobody does, but he evidently has control of it, I think, for a 10-year period. And Matt Rife is moving the facility to Salem, Massachusetts. The most commercial paranormal. It's like the Las Vegas. It's like the Las Vegas paranormal. That's what that is. Salem, Massachusetts. Everything's painted a nice royal blue or green with the gold. So that's what's happening there. But anyway, that'll open. I think it's opening this month if it hasn't opened already. But again, there was a lot of money to be made by Tony Spira and the New England Society for Psychic Research. I want to say this. Lorraine Warren did not want those artifacts to be taken out of the Monroe Occult Museum. She wanted them to stay there. She knew that there was a bad mojo there. There was some bad gree. There was some bad energies there, and she wanted it to stay there. And Dave, if you could pull up that shot again of Dan Rivera and me and Annabelle. I just wanted to point something out if we could. Yeah. So if you take a look at that cage with Annabelle, it's maybe a 6 foot, I'm not sure, maybe 5 foot cage. Dan Rivera and Ed Warren built that. And it says, warning, positively do not touch. There were 3 crucifixes attached to it. It was infused with holy water and holy oil, to protect the people watching that. There was a copy of the Lord's Prayer that was attached to the back. And then there was supposed to be a priest there named Father Bob, who was supposed to be there at all times as an extra line of defense, as an extra way to keep us protected from any kind of evil. And when I was there on Friday, July the 11th, Father Bob, they told me, was in South America. So Father Bob was not there. And, say what you will, but I mean, they were advertising this as being very safe, and also that this Father Bob would be there, and he wasn't. So that's my story. And somebody here has a question about Annabelle. Great. I love to talk about Annabelle. Is that Karen and Billy?
Yeah, Maxim. One of the questions I had for you, because I had this general question about Annabelle on tour, if you will, thinking what a terrible idea that probably really is, and what your thoughts were on the not only the rumors about how much of a bad idea that was, but also like reported incidents that happened to people who did go, to one of those shows.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, when I was there, I mean, I tried to feel, I tried to emote, I tried to, really get into it. I felt nothing. I mean, I looked into the eyes of Annabelle and there was nothing there. I looked into the eyes of Dan Rivera and there was a very nice guy, a nice Christian guy, a nice family man, a military, a veteran. He was just a wonderful stand-up guy, and it's too bad that he died. There was controversy and there was pushback. There should have been more controversy in the realm of the paranormal. More of us should have said, this is wrong. Tony Spera never should have taken, those artifacts out on the road. Lorraine, that was Lorraine's mandate. But again, why did they do that? Don't tell me that it was for our educational edification. Don't tell me that they were trying to teach us about the paranormal by taking those artifacts around. It wasn't about that. It was about making money, and the New England Society for Psychic Research made a hell of a lot of money. I want to say this about Dan Rivera and his family. Even today, they're selling little pins for the Rivera family so they could make a couple of dollars. I'm saying this. Why doesn't Tony Spera and his New England Society for Psychic Research take some of that $200,000, or better yet, take some of that $1 million and just peel off a couple of bills and give it to the Rivera family? That would be the right ethical thing to do. And Tony Spera, if you're listening, I resent the fact that Tony and some of his minions are saying that I was capitalizing on the death of Dan Rivera and I was celebrating his death. None of that could be further from the truth. I mean, I feel a lot of remorse and sadness that he passed. Again, I'm sorry that happened, but Tony Spera really, the people that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So, as far as I'm concerned, he is a bad representative of what the paranormal community should be. I'm sure that Lorraine is rolling around in her grave right now about what he did. So it's pretty disgusting, and that's all I have to say about that. If somebody does something wrong, I think we have the obligation to go and just speak out and say it's wrong. And I'm just saying that everything about the Devils on the Run tour was wrong. It was a type of perverse black tourism, and it was all about the money. It wasn't about anything else. So there, that's that. Goosebumps, parent. Hey, Jimmy Trick, look at you in the house. Excuse me, Jimmy, I didn't see you at the North Central Cryptid and Bigfoot Festival this past Saturday. I looked for you. Jimmy and D Trick were some of the guest speakers. And also for some of your listeners out there, every August we have the North Central Cryptid and Bigfoot Festival. It's in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania at the mall. And last year it drew 14,000 people. I don't know what it drew this year. I think it could have been more, but I mean, it's a pretty awesome thing. It's one of the biggest things we have here in the area, and we need to support that. A nice shout out to Michael and Gwen Purcell for, yeah, I know you gave a presentation at 11 o'clock, and I think they kicked you out at 11:30, right, Jimmy? So, but anyway, that's a great festival. So, and support things that are local. Support these things, because if you don't, they're going to go away. So, but that's just a great one. And so anyway, that's yeah, check it out.
Okay, let me go back to. I just wanted to throw in there. As far as Tony Spera.
Yeah.
I mean, look who he sold the museum and the house to. I'll say no more after that.
Yeah, the stand-up comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but again, do we have any obligations? Do we have any responsibility? Do we have any ethical responsibilities? And if we do, what Tony Spera does was totally wrong and totally unethical. He did not abide by the wishes of Lorraine, And again, he was just chasing money. I mean, everything about it is just something really stinks there in Monroe, Connecticut. So that's all I got to say about that. And I mean, I wish your listeners would say a few things and just let us know how they feel about this. I mean, it's either right or wrong. It's not an in between. There's no shades of gray here. You pick one verdict.
Okay, let's give a shout out to the listeners. If you have any comments or any questions for our guest tonight, please type them in and use all caps, and we'll put your question up there and we'll give you an answer. Okay, let me go back to here. I wanted to ask you, what do you consider the most compelling evidence connected to the SMURL haunting?
Well, here's the thing. I think the reason that the SMURLs were attacked was because they were Christians. They were devout Catholics, and I think they had a mark on their back. So as far as I understand it, people that are either children, people that are addicted, mentally ill, people that have low self-esteem, or people that are very devout. Christians, Jews, Muslims, doesn't matter. Hindus, doesn't matter. I mean, religions, faith is faith. I think the devil delights in bringing down people that have dedicated their life to, an entity, a higher power, and so I think that that's why they went after Ed and Lorraine. But I also think that the other thing was that because of their great faith and their connection with the church was there to help them with this. The church would send over a priest to babysit and see what was happening, to spend the night there. They sent a priest over to do a cleansing. They every local parish has an exorcist who's well versed in the rite of exorcism. So they tried that, but none of these people were really top-notch exorcists. They read the script, they used the holy water, they used the Bible, they used everything they needed to do, and they tried to evoke the power of God. And I don't think they were very good at it. Ed Warren tried it. He was an amateur. He was a self-taught exorcist, and he wasn't very good. So what Ed did was he reached out to a guy named Robert McKenna, and Father Robert McKenna was known as a rogue priest. After Pope John the 23rd initiated Vatican II, back around 62, 63, around 62, Vatican II was to reform the Catholic Church. It was our kumbaya moment. It was to bring us into the 20th century and to get us closer to all these other religions and to women and to the poor and all that. And so that was what was happening there. But Father McKenna was a rogue priest, and he wouldn't have any of that. He refused to go along with Vatican II. He wanted to say Mass in Latin, and he wanted to keep to the old tradition. So McKenna came there, and he attempted a number of exorcisms on the SMURL haunting, but nothing took. So finally, the Bishop of Scranton, James Timlin, got permission to send in for the cavalry, and he brought in a guy named Father Alphonse Treebolt from New York State. And Father Treebolt came in and did 4 exorcisms before he cleansed the SMURL house. He cleansed the SMURL house. Now, I don't know if you have the, let me see here. I have a picture of, I did. I had a picture of the Dandy House. And I wanted to see if I could bring that up. I thought I sent it over to you. Well, I don't know where it is. Anyway, Father Treebolt tried to. Oh, here it is. Okay, hang on. 11 Hinsdale House. Let me bring this up. So here's the house. Here's the Hinsdale House. Okay, never mind. So Treebolt tried to go and excise the Hinsdale house in western Pennsylvania. That was the Dandy family, and it was a similar case as the SMURLs. All kinds of crazy aspects of demonic infestation were happening. The knives were being flung at these people. The townspeople criticized the young daughter, claiming that she was a devil worshiper. I mean, all kinds of just bizarre things happened. But Father Treebolt went there and tried to do a cleansing, and he couldn't. And he said that this place, he said, just take your belongings and leave this place. Don't tell anybody where you're going, because this place is a portal to hell. The Hinsdale house is a portal to hell. Just leave. And it was not a successful venture. He believed in retrospect that there might have been a legion of demons that were there, and that's why they were just too powerful for him. So again, the fact was that Father Treebolt was able to go and successfully do 4 exorcisms on the SMURL haunting, but was not able to do anything successfully for the Hinsdale house in western Pennsylvania. So just interesting, 2 different places. Even today, though, you could go and spend the night at the Hinsdale house, from 6 at night to say 10 in the morning. So, pay for play. Another example of dark tourism.
Okay. Before I give the mic back to Billy, which of the reported paranormal incidents do you find most credible or hardest to explain?
Say that again. Say it again.
Okay. Which of the reported paranormal incidents do you find most credible or hardest to explain at the SMURL haunting?
Oh, with the SMURL haunting. I think the SMURL haunting is probably the most horrific and violent example of a haunted house that I've come across. And I've studied, Hinsdale, Wells House, Amityville, just a whole bunch of them. The thing that makes the SMURL haunting so unique is the level of violence, the level of personal violence. And imagine, us guys pretty much don't come forward and confess that we've been raped, by a succubus or anything. With our ego and everything, it's really a difficult thing to do. I always commended Jack SMURL for having the courage to step up and say I was raped by a succubus. That takes a lot. I don't know. The way I look at it, I think it takes a lot of guts to do that. But the thing that sets the SMURL haunting apart from everything else is the extreme level of violence, toward not only towards Jack, but also Janet SMURL was sexually molested by a spirit. So there was a lot of that happening in at the SMURL house. Again, just a very personal attack that you don't see typically at some of these other haunted houses. So and again, it's funny because everybody's heard of Amityville, but very few people, not a whole lot of people, have heard of the SMURL haunting. It just doesn't have the same, commercial or mainstream appeal, or notoriety, I should say, that Amityville has.
My mic was stuck there for a second. I apologize.
Oh,
Billy,
that's okay.
all yours.
Okay, so I wanted to split this up into 2 questions, but we're kind of swimming in the waters of both of them anyway. So my first part of the question is, would you probably say it's mislabeled to say the house was haunted versus the SMURLs themselves, considering there was no prior activity in the home allegedly to them moving in and none afterwards?
Yeah.
And then because it followed them. And then the other question was, well, maybe 3 questions really.
Yeah,
when you mentioned about like people's talents or skills when it comes to exorcisms, Like, do you think that's something that really needs to be practiced to be stronger at natural talents? And the third part of that question is, why do you think none of them were successful until it was an actual sanctioned by the church exorcism?
Again, with the rite of exorcism, any one of us can do that. You just recite the words. It's a prayer, and you use the artifacts. Holy water. Here I got Padre Pio's holy water that I carry with me. That's my patron saint. But there's no rhyme or reason for how these demons or how the devil operates. I would say that demonic energies can infest people, places, and things. So with the SMURL haunting, certainly it was infesting and terrorizing the house because we had all the things that were happening within the house. It was also trying to attach itself to Jack and Janet SMURL, but I think with their faith they were able to go and fight it off. But um, again, demonic forces can infest people, places, and things. That's why Annabelle most likely, was targeted. The SMURL house. We know that it stalked the SMURLs. They went on a camping trip, and a whole lot of paranormal things happened there. So we know that the spirit, the demon, whatever, followed Jack and Janet and their family when they went on the camping trip. The Jack's parents lived on the other side of the duplex, and they heard things. There was a case of the neighbor calling the house or getting a phone call from the house from a little girl that should not have been there. There shouldn't have been anybody there at the house. So there were just bizarre things happening like that. We don't think anything happened to the house to cause the infestation. I mean, we don't think that it was built, the SMURL house in West Piston. We don't believe that it was built on ancient, Native American soil, ground. We don't think that was the reason. We don't think that there was a mass murder or any kind of a murder there at that house. So there was nothing, strange, and nothing, nothing foreboding, that was happening there. So that wasn't it. But the demonic energies can go from different places and people. We know that people that do get possessed, that there's a certain, that with these demonic energies, that it starts with temptation, and then there might be obsession, and then there might be eventually possession. Now, Jack SMURL wasn't possessed. I think that he fought this off every step of the way, but he had the blessing, of the blessings of his church, his God, his family. So he was able to go and do that. The thing that I think we need to, and it showed that in the film clip, your choppy film clip, but it showed Janet studying up on the occult. She was being attacked, so she wanted to find out what was going on. So she went to the West Pittston Library, and I've been there many times, but she went there just to figure it out, to read about it. And there were 3 newspapers in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I kept a file system, a clipping system of every article I could find on the SMURL haunting. I don't recall one positive article. I don't recall one article where they actually supported and celebrated the SMURLs and thanked them for their courage and for their faith and everything. There was none of that. What it was, they castigated them, they called them names, they said that they were just out for fame and fortune. They just wanted to make money. They did not believe that the SMURLs were sincere. They believed that they were just trying to make money. And it was the same thing that happened at the Hinsdale house with the Dandy family. The townspeople turned against them. They were a town without pity. And it's almost like little kids that turn into monsters on the school ground when they see kids that are different than them, whether they're crippled or a different color or a different whatever. These kids could be monsters. And the people of West Pittston and the people of in Hinsdale, acted the same way. They acted they acted like monsters. They weren't people with a heart. Yeah, I know there's a up and coming paranormal author, Julie Wainwright, that writes. It's paranormal, but it's romantic fantasy, but it's steeped in the paranormal. But she always talks about the energies coming from the heart and soul, and that's what reminded me of the Dandy family and the SMURL family. There was no heart and soul. There was no love there. It was just a whole lot of animosity, and which I've been asked, when I went up there, it might have been around 86, 87, to West Pittston, just to see what was going on. But I never knocked on the door of the SMURL family. And that's because the SMURL family were under attack by demonic infestation. They were under attack by the paparazzi. And it's in my book, The SMURL Haunting, when Ed and Lorraine came to town, that Janet SMURL would get hundreds and hundreds of phone calls from paparazzi around the world that wanted to have exclusive interviews. Hundreds of phone calls. And so that was just like very, very draining, very traumatic. And then the other thing was the townspeople who did not believe them, who thought that they were just hoaxers and, all the other things. There was no support other than with the church. So luckily they had their family and their church, and that got them through.
Billy?
Now there were like mentions in like the Haunted movie about like when they were off at the campground away and like the neighborhood was actually witnessing things.
Yeah, right.
Was that also Hollywood, or was that more like, yeah, everybody did kind of catch a glimpse of what was going on?
Yeah, no, that wasn't. I don't think there was. I forget. I don't think there was much of that in The Conjuring Last Rites. There might have been, but
not in Last Rites. It was in the
Haunted, the
yes,
Fox movie for TV.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah, the neighbors heard things. The in-laws, or his parents rather, heard things, and so that was happening. So evidently those demonic spirits, were being vocal, were in action, and people knew about them. When Jack and Janet SMURL finally left the place, and they moved to another place in Wilkes-Barre, and finally everything sort of settled down, and and whatever was there had left. There's no rhyme or reason for demonic energies, why they stay, why they go, why they linger. We have the same problem with ghost hunters when we talk about the afterlife, when we talk about looking for the presence of ghosts and spirits and demons. A lot of people, believe that we can make contact with spirits and demons, but the question that a lot of people have is, why do some of these ghosts, why are they earthbound? Why do they get stuck? And so probably at the SMURL haunting, we know we had a succubus, a female demon, that probably manipulated the other spirits and ghosts that were there. They were not as powerful as the succubus, and they just sort of took direction from her. So if the succubus said, well, pound on the walls and just make noises and do whatever you could to upset the SMURL family, that's what they would do. But Lorraine always felt, now in this movie that you showed, she only talked about 3 or 4 entities there, but later Lorraine, and it's in my book, Lorraine talked about 7 distinct entities that were there, including the succubus, the female demon that Lorraine felt was in charge. So that was the one that raped Jack, and also the one that was the leader of the group, the one that was controlling the other 6 entities that were there at the SMURL house.
Okay, my next question. I think I heard that one of the daughters became a paranormal investigator.
Yep.
Is she still an investigator as of today?
I think it's Karen. It's Karen. And I tried to reach out to her, and there seems to be maybe a misunderstanding or some bad blood between me and the SMURLs, because the one daughter reached out to my publicist, my publisher, Anxiety Press in Chicago, and wanted to know why I didn't get permission from the SMURLs to write my book. And the reason I didn't get permission from the SMURLs to write my book is because I didn't need their permission. Everything that I put in the book was public knowledge based on books and interviews and and newspaper articles. Every single thing that I wrote about had already been out there. There was nothing new. There was nothing personal. There was nothing intimate. There was nothing, there was no betrayal of trust. So that was the one thing that, and then also the daughter also wanted to know why we never entered into a contract, me and the SMURL family, so that the SMURLs could get part of the proceeds of my book sales. And again, we didn't do that because we didn't have to do that. And, I think if you're going to, go out there and try to make some money from a project, just go ahead and do that. But don't piggyback off of somebody by, trying to sue them or blackmail them or whatever. That's not going to work. It never worked. It's not going to work in this case either. But, we, Anxiety Press has a whole armada of attorneys and legal things. I mean, we're standing pretty good and confident. But anyway, again, so for some of your listeners, you can write a book about the SMURL haunting or Amityville or anything else. I mean, you're allowed to do that. And as long as that stuff is public domain, as far as it's out there, if it was something that was of a very personal nature, if I had interviewed one of the SMURLs and they gave me some, very confidential, classified information, that would be something else. But there was none of that happening. Basically, it was your very typical haunted house with all of the bells and whistles, all the boxes checked. The only thing was that Jack was raped, and that made it one of the most violent episodes of haunted houses that that we've known about.
Sorry, I was muted.
Huh?
Now, this next question, I'm not sure if, let's see.
And we're going to put that in the form of a question, right?
Yeah, you may have talked about it, but I just don't recall. How do you think the media coverage at the time shaped the public perception of the case?
It was horrible. It was horrible. Listen, I'm a former drug and alcohol counselor. And I remember in Wilkes-Barre at the Times Leader, they had the newspaper was the Times Leader, and there was a thing, it was called Sound Off. So you could go and write a letter to the newspaper and just about anything. So everybody's talking about politics and everything. But at this case, this isn't about the SMURLs, but this is Wilkes-Barre. And somebody wrote a letter and said, with the drug addicts, the heroin addicts, let's send them all to an island, let them shoot up and die. So this is the valley with a heart, So the Times Leader stopped doing this letter to the editor of the thing because it was just getting too nutso, too crazy, too much anger, and so they stopped doing that. But the newspapers were malicious. I mean, I'm saying like 100%, not 99.5%, but 100% of the newspapers were malicious. They ripped apart the SMURLs, and they didn't believe Ed and Lorraine Warren. It was horrible. And how did they shape the opinion? Well, media does that. Instead of doing investigative journalism, instead of sitting down and talking to Jack and saying, like, tell me again, what exactly happened? Tell me about that. Instead of talking to Jack with a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a social worker, just to get the story. The newspapers did none of that. All they did was rip the SMURLs apart and say they were just out chasing money. So that's what happened. The media is supposed to lead. The media is supposed to go and inform. They're supposed to help us. They're supposed to be the fourth estate. And in this case, certainly with the SMURL haunting, this was a big letdown. And as a former newspaper man and as a person who lived in northeastern Pennsylvania, like I'm ashamed. We could have done a lot better. We could have done a lot better. And there's some people out there that need to learn that lesson. They can do better.
So this might be probably not an easy thing to actually happen, but if you were able to ask the SMURL family like one question about the incident, what do you think your question would be?
Yeah, good question. I think I would ask them about their faith. I would ask them about the religion. From where I'm looking, I'm feeling that their strong faith got them through. And I think I would ask them about that because, and there's a correlation here between maybe demonic possession and what I used to do as a drug and alcohol counselor. People that are addicted, people that get into recovery, it's the most miraculous, powerful thing you'll ever see when they're able to stop doing the booze, stop doing the heroin, the meth, and find that place. And again, when I talk to so many of these people that got into recovery, and I would say, how did you get into recovery? And a lot of them would say, I don't know. It was a miracle. So I think in the case of Jack and Janet SMURL, I think there were miracles happening. And again, when you talk about miracles, you're talking about all things because of God. You're talking about God manifesting through somebody, working a miracle through somebody. So it was probably through Jack, the patron, the patriarch, and but that's the question. Yeah, and I would love to have asked them. Thank you, Judy Cat 123. I would. And Judy, what are you enjoying about the show? That's what I want to know. Give us your top three likes. But anyway, I think that I would love to have asked Ed or Jack SMURL about his faith and if he thought that was what really got him through. Again, it's a powerful thing when you talk about people that, even with ghost hunters, they go into these houses and they're prepared. They have the intention and the patience and the respect. And they may recite the prayer of St. Michael the Archangel. They may have their crucifix or their Star of David or their Islamic symbols. It doesn't matter. All these are pretty much all the same as far as with faith and belief. And yeah, I would have loved to have had a conversation with Jack SMURL about that. But that's a pretty good question.
Yeah.
And Cat Lady 123 is not answering. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to give her a shout out. I actually was going to try to get her to come in and be a co-host tonight, but I forgot.
Okay.
She's with Karen.
Was that Karen? Was that Karen?
No, that was Tracy.
Oh, Tracy. Okay.
Yeah, they're together at an event. So
at a tea party.
Oh.
There you go.
Is that high tea?
Sort of. So they
have
a witchy tea.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Let me just get to it and let's see. I have a photo here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay. My friends, let me read this, okay? My friends, if you appropriated a copy of Scream, and that's Scream of the Haunted House, please complete the circle of empathy by submitting a review to Amazon. 5 stars are nice, but we'll settle for 3. That's good. I'll take 3. Hey, I'll take 2. So that's my latest book. It's called The Scream of the Haunted House. They're calling it the Ghost Hunter's Bible. Just came out a short time ago, and Kristen Amanda, my buddy, wrote the foreword and called it wrote the blurb. She called it the Ghost Hunter's Bible. But this is, if you're into ghost hunting, this is sort of a follow-up to the SMURL haunting when Ed and Lorraine came to town. So I take a deep dive into the paranormal, into the demonic, and yeah, there I am at the pulpit there at an old country church. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of that cover?
I like it.
I'm sorry. I like it. My mic was stuck again.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if for your audience, we might have a special treat here. Hang on, here's the video. Let me see if I could do this. Maybe not. MP. No. Hang on. Here, right here. Can we rev that up possibly?
Let's see.
It's the Scream of the Haunted House. That came over from Hangar 1. It's just, you're right there. Okay.
The scream of the haunted house is heard. In the shadows, hear the call. Something's waiting in the hall. Open the door if you dare tonight. Stepping slow where the moon burns bright. Ghosts and secrets all come alive in the house where the dead still hide. The scream of the haunted house, a chilling ride you can't turn down. Get it and read it now. Written by Maxim W. FUREK. The Ghost Hunter's Bible. Available from Hangar 1 Publishing. Coming soon.
Yep, it's already out.
Hey, Billy, Billy, did you notice something? I'm sorry. It did not skip one time.
It what?
What'd you have in mind, Dave?
It didn't skip one time.
Oh.
Yeah, because his video was not terrible.
Well, you know what? That was Doug Highcheck put that together. He's with Hangar 1. He did Monster Quest. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Doug, but anyway.
Yeah, I've interviewed him before. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a cool guy. But anyway, he put that together. He wrote that song for my book. So, God, how great is that?
It was a pretty cool song.
Yeah, so we're using that when we do interviews on Scream of the Haunted House. We're using that as an intro. So I don't know, I think that's kind of effective. Did you like that?
Oh, I liked it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did. The words were good. I liked the tune. You know, the voice was good. I liked it all.
Yeah, and they pronounce my name correctly too. So
send that to me, and I'll promote it for you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, that tea must be pretty good because so she still hasn't put up the 3 things that Maxim asked her to put up about the show she's liking.
Oh, okay.
Tracy.
No, I asked her for 3 things. Maybe she only had 1.
All right, Billy, what do you have, sir?
Let's see. If you could go into the SMURL house at the height of activity.
Oh, wow, yeah.
With today's technology, what would you prefer to use?
I think I'd bring some holy people, either pagans or Wiccans, maybe a shaman. I think I wouldn't be afraid to go there, but I think I would recite the prayer of Saint Michael the Archangel. I would invoke the white light, the sage, the crystals. I would do all that stuff, and then I would go there with feeling protected and grounded. And so when you go into these places, you need to have the proper intention, certainly the respect, and and I would just see what would happen. But obviously in a place like that, there's bad things happening. So you know um, you know uh, I I think I would do it, but I would be well prepared, and I wouldn't go alone. I would go with other people, that I would consider spiritual people, spiritual brothers. So
Okay. Let's see. What do I have for you? When researching cases like this, how do you separate factual events from folklore or exaggeration?
yeah, well, that's the question. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, that's the $1 million question. I mean, you know, we're talking about the paranormal. So, we're trying to weed out the folklore and the fairy tales and all that. But everything, with the paranormal, everything's intertwined, whether it's the mythology or the religions or the popular culture. I mean, everything is just one ball of everything. So, one thing I love about the paranormal is that, it's very difficult to define it, describe it, to hold it, but I think that as a paranormal researcher and author, what I want to do is I want to go and try to do that. I want to give it a beginning and end. I want to find the top and the bottom and all that, and do that, try to use the scientific method to approach the paranormal, and maybe to give it a little bit more validity and more respect from the scientific community, and also from the public at large. So I think that that's what we all need to do. We need to just step it up and not be knuckle draggers and apers, but we need to go out there, and put our best foot forward, our best scientific foot, and bring this whole thing a little bit closer to the scientific realm. That's when we get the respect, and that's when scientists, the scientific community, is going to start doing the heavy lifting and giving us things, to help us explain, what we're looking at. I'll give you one example of what I'm talking about. When we talk about extraterrestrials, for the longest time we had this concept that space brothers were going trillions of light years from their planet to ours. And that was the concept that we had in books and motion pictures and everything else. And after looking at that, we realized, a lot of us realized, that that is just too archaic, too cartoonish, too yesterday. I mean, that makes no sense at all. But when you listen to people like John Keel and Jacques Vallée, a bunch of people there, okay. They believe that Bigfoot and flying saucers use an interdimensional pathway. And if you look at the space-time continuum as something that could be folded in half and then maybe punched a hole through, we could go from A to B in microseconds rather than trillions of light years, from one place to another. So the interdimensional theory that Jacques Vallée and other people have been talking about makes more sense to me. So whenever anybody asks me about Bigfoot or cryptids, or even flying saucers, I believe that they are shapeshifters. They zigzag in between portals, between their dimension and ours. One thing too, I think, with people don't talk a whole lot about this, but I think that with the stench of Sasquatch, I think that's from the dimension. When Sasquatch goes from his dimension into ours, they bring with them this stench. It's like a potato bin smell, that pungent thing. So that's what I mean, Bigfoot smells like a wet dog and fecal matter and rotten eggs and all the other stuff. But I believe that it's part of their portal, where they're coming from. So when they come over to our portal, we can smell this. That's just a element of where they're coming from. That's what I believe. I don't believe that they use that as a weapon. I think they use it for defensive purposes.
Interesting. Yeah. Billy?
And I wanted to, at this point, propose a toast to you guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Okay, I got my coconut water here. Okay, to your health.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're definitely going to be my throat. We're definitely going to be bringing you back for a part 2. So
yeah, for sure. And we could talk about Scream of the Haunted House if you like.
There you go.
Yeah. And I will send you that MP4 if anything.
Yeah,
you can do
I'll definitely put it out there for you, and I'll play it on the show.
Okay.
As long as it's nice to me. I mean, as long as it's not choppy. Yours played good, and mine was choppy.
You know, one thing about that choppy thing that you showed, Lorraine sounded different. She had a different resonance. I mean, that's not the Lorraine, not the voice that I recall. And I mean, don't ask me what the difference was. It just seemed more metallic, what I heard tonight with her voice. So it just sounded different. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm not sure.
It's probably Dave's file.
And how long have you folks been doing? How long have you folks been doing Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounter?
Dave.
Well, myself, it'll be almost 3 years, but I've had some medical issues along the way where I had to, back away for a while. But I mean, I just had open heart surgery. So.
Oh wow! When was
and I'm
that?
recovering from that. That was back in April.
Wow. Well, you got your color back. Yeah. God bless you.
Yeah. What I thought was a cold, because I couldn't breathe too well. Went to the hospital, and they took me right in for what do they call it? Where they go up in your vein and look in your heart. Catheterization.
Yeah, okay.
And then they came back to me and said, I said, what do I need, another stent? They said, nope, we're going to have to crack you open. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh. You didn't want to hear that, did you?
No, not at all.
So that got to be kind of painful, and a painful recovery, right?
Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to go into great details about, I mean, I had IVs in my neck and a catheter, and, the pain, dealing with having to stand up and walk. That wasn't the biggest part of my problem. So, I mean, what I'm saying is I did pretty good with it.
Okay.
Until Billy come up and aggravated me.
Hey, look, I had to help you because your physical pain was nothing compared to the mental anguish your caretakers were putting you through.
There you go. He said it, not me. Yeah. There you go. Well put.
Yeah. Well, good for. Well, I'm glad that you made it through. And there's a lot of strep throat / COVID going around. And, as I do a lot of podcasts and I talk to these people, but I mean, there's just like a strep throat going around the whole United States. And I have a friend that had strep throat A and B, and now she has what do you call when they have all the antibiotics? Thrush. So she's just a walking, talking mess. And, hopefully she turns around and has some good health, but there seems to be a lot of that going around. So, be
You've
careful.
had a music career as well, correct?
Well, I'm a former rock journalist. Yeah, I'm a rock and roll guy. I used to go around to all these different places, and I was writing for a couple of publications, actually getting paid to go see rock bands and to write about them. And I was getting free tickets to every single concert. I had free tickets to the FM Kirby Center in Wilkes-Barre. I mean, every single person that came there, like Miles Davis, and tell me how many people have seen Miles Davis up front and close. It was like God came to Wilkes-Barre, landed on that stage, and he's wearing a space suit. He's wearing shades. And when this white audience wouldn't applaud, he would just turn his back on us until we applauded. He was pretty cool. But Miles Davis was the coolest thing going. God. And I remember I went to there was a band. They were sort of like the Velvet Underground. And I told the band leader, I said, yeah, I saw Miles Davis. And so a little bit later, I'm over there. It was an event, and this guy's tapping me on the shoulder. Here, it's him and his band. He goes, he's the guy. Tell him he's the guy that saw Miles. They wanted me to tell them all about Miles Davis. That was so freaking cool. So Miles was incredible. But yeah, I did that. I was a paranormal author, rock journalist for a while, and I just stumbled into the paranormal. It's just I've been doing the paranormal ever since. It's just like, it sort of snuck up on me. I mean, I never went looking for the paranormal, but just like people like Jacques Vallée and John Keel and so many other people, just came after me.
Did I just hear a click? I guess I didn't. It sounded like when somebody comes in, but I don't see anything yet. So, and you're also a current writer for Strange Knocks magazine.
Yeah, I write for Strange Knocks, Fate, Paranormal Underground, a bunch of them. But yeah, Strange Knocks is the magazine by Michael and Gwen Purcell. They're the ones from Selingsgrove and the Cryptid Collective. So if you're in that area, check that out.
I've written one article for them so far. Okay, and then of course I got sick. So
okay.
I'm working on
what was the article? I'll look for them. I have all the issues.
Give me 1 second here.
You gotta look it up because you don't know it.
Spiritual Savior.
Okay.
Right? Let's see if you can see it. No.
No, it's a bitmap. That's interesting how that's.
Move a little to the right. Slowly, slow. You gotta move real slow, Dave.
Maybe closer.
Not closer. You gotta remember your overlay. The more something comes in and moves, the more it doesn't like it.
It was in the January 2026 issue.
Yeah. And what's it say there on the bottom right?
SMURL haunting.
Very good. I wonder who wrote that one.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice publication. I'll tell you what, it's slick. It's like Playboy. I mean, I hope that they could keep it going. It's just a nice publication.
Oh, yeah. It's a very nice book. Yeah.
Yeah, and very eclectic. I mean, there's a little bit about everything there, so I like that.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we're coming up on let's see, the 9 p.m. hour. And Billy, you have any more questions?
Let me see.
Let me go over here.
Going back to the SMURL haunting, do you think that possibly because of things like the Agnes flooding and kind of losing everything and things like that, that might have triggered or kind of, I don't want to say started the chain of events, because chronologically it did, but maybe kind of put them in a target range for what was going on?
Well,
along with the faith.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe they might have had some kind of PTSD. They might have been they were probably traumatized by that Agnes flood. I mean, I've seen people, where I live here in tiny little mountain town called Mackinac. I've seen people get flooded out over the years, like at least 3 times. The one family, one would be enough for me, but that has to be traumatic. That has to do a number on your head. You have to be in a place of vulnerability, and that's probably part of what was happening. I've had people ask me, well, why the SMURLs? Of all the people in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, why did the demons decide to pick on them, to target them? And I don't know. I don't know how demons work or how the devil works, but all I know is I think that they were targeted, but also they were traumatized because of Agnes and all that. And they moved in there, everything was okay, and then very slowly the hauntings began. And typical of other haunted houses, nothing unique other than, when he got raped and when she got molested, when the dog levitated, that was unique about SMURL House. The Amityville House was unique for the house flies and the talking pig and things like that. But so. And even with Amityville, they were George and Kathy Lutz were only there for 28 days and then they left. I said they were driven out by the demons, so they just couldn't take it anymore.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the SMURLs, weren't they affected for 10 years? My question is, how long did they wait before they got help?
Oh no, let me see. Agnes happened in 72. The book was written in 88.
They moved into the house in 73, August of
Okay.
1973.
73. And then things happened slowly and gradually and as they played out. So it didn't happen fast, but it happened very slowly. And then some of the things were more dramatic than others. For example, the brand new TV set just blew up. The chandelier fell down and almost hit one of the daughters. And they had 2 daughters and then they had 2 others. So there were, but it was things like that. And then just got more and more and more. But they would keep on sending in, priests to cleanse the house. Now, they were talking in the film clip that you showed. They were saying that how she reached out to Lorraine, but it was my understanding that Janet Schmer was watching a TV program and she heard Lorraine Warren on TV, so she reached out to her. And Warren, Connecticut wasn't that far from West Pittston, so that's what happened. The Warrens came down to West Pittston, Pennsylvania. They came down with a photographer, their publicist, and also a nurse who was a psychic. So they came down there, and Ed Warren immediately believed that there was something there, some kind of he goes, call it a spook or a ghost or a demon, I don't care, but there's something evil here. And then Lorraine eventually concluded that there were a total of 7 spirits or spooks that were there that were infesting the SMURL haunting.
Okay. Let me just click this back on and see. Nope. Okay.
I'll give you a more personal one, Maxim.
Yeah.
You too, Dave. If something were happening in your own home, how long do you think it would take you to be like, nope, I'm out?
Well, there is something happening in my house. And, there was a lady here named Nancy that we believe died in the house. And a lot of times I'll be in bed and I'll turn in a little bit earlier than my wife. She likes to stay up until 11 and got to be 11 o'clock, not 10 till, not 10 after, but 11 o'clock, So anyway, I'll be in bed and then I feel her coming in bed. but it's not her. She's out there watching TV. It's Nancy. I mean, I feel Nancy coming into the bed, and I feel the bed moving and all that. Not once, not twice. It happens all the time. It doesn't just happen with me. My wife feels Nancy too. So Nancy is there. She's what they call an earth bound ghost. She likes it there. You know, she's not gone any place. She's not moving over. She's not going to raise her vibration. She's going to stay there because she likes it there, and she likes us. So she, you know, she doesn't do anything scary, but I felt her there. I felt her presence on many, many occasions, and you know, my wife and I have discussed it. So you know, Nancy's here, and it's good. It's a good thing. So not a bad thing.
Yeah. I've been here at the cabin for 7 years, and when I first moved in, small things would happen, things that are, you know, not supposed to happen. I'll give you an example. My nephew was in from West Virginia, and we were sitting in the living room, and we heard something hit the floor. Well, he goes out into the kitchen, and he's looking around, and he looks down, and he sees a paintbrush that I use to clean the dryer filter to get the, you know, the lint, just scratch the lint off of it and put the filter back in. But anyway, he said, "Where did you have the brush?" I said, "Sitting on top of the dryer." He said, "Well, it's way over here by the kitchen cabinets." And I said, "Well, that's 10, 12 feet. So when I thought about it, I'm thinking, well, if it fell off the dryer, what made it fall off the dryer? The dryer wasn't running. And if a paintbrush fell off of a dryer, it's going to go straight down, not across the room. So it took for me to get scratched on my shoulder just sitting at my computer. And once that happened, then I had a spiritual cleansing done. Okay. Knock on wood, nothing has happened since.
Yeah.
And
now that scratch was that just one scratch or three? Was it the three?
It was one.
One, okay.
But it was about 3 inches long. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So, you know, little things here and there. And
yeah.
It's like I went out to take the trash out one night, and I'm coming back in, and I'm turning around to shut the door, and there's my granddaughter's little brown Nerf football rolling towards me. Well, my wife was in bed. My granddaughter wasn't here. It was just me up. How did it get out of the toy box? And how was it rolling? You know what I mean? Rolling across the floor.
No, I don't know. I mean, I've heard this before. But I don't know what you mean. I don't know how that happens. Yeah. I don't know.
So.
Yeah, a lot of weird
stuff. All right,
stuff
we got about 3 minutes to go. So I want to thank you for being on tonight, and definitely want to have you come back and do a part two.
Yeah.
You know, we'll talk, and I'll see what your schedule is. Right now, I have a few dates in September and October, so we'll talk.
Okay.
I'll get back to you, but don't forget to send me that video clip that works.
I'll do that, and I have your email at 7863. Okay, good. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
very good. And then I would say this, if I may, in parting, if any of your listeners happen to purchase any of my books, my paranormal books, if they could put a review on Amazon, that would be awesome. That's the one thing that we really need as authors. It feeds the algorithm, and they could do a review on either Amazon or on Goodreads. I think those are the two. So, I'd appreciate that. And my website, of course, is www.maximfurek.com.
Let me.
And the new book is Scream of the Haunted House. So.
throw that back across there again. And like I said, if you have anything, send it to me. I'll promote it for you.
Wonderful. Okay,
Whether
thank you
it
so
be
much.
on the podcast or on my Facebook. So
Okay.
definitely. All right.
And then, yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, I just wanted to clear that off and open that back up. All right. So we're going to say goodnight to you, sir. And I'll be in touch soon.
Very good. I appreciate it. Dave, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're doing well with your heart, with your cardiac issues, and continued good health. And Billy, thank you so much for hanging out with us and all your questions. You had some really good ones there. So
thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I really enjoyed this. I hope your listeners enjoyed this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Billy was he behaved himself tonight.
Okay.
All right, sir. Good night.
Okay.
And thanks.
Have a good one, and thank you so much for everything.
Mm-hmm. All right, Billy. So we got a couple things to let's see. All right. So next week we're gonna have author Bill Bean on. Let me just throw that up. And he has an event coming up on, it's a book signing, September 5th. I keep saying the 6th. I don't know why I keep saying the 6th. But he's going to be on next week. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said no, it's definitely the 5th. Believe me, it's on my calendar already.
All right. And let me throw this up there for our good friend, Mr. Mike Hartman. He's got an app. It's called the BigfootApp.com. We put evidence on the map. Please check that out and tell them Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast told you about it. And again, I'm going to put up the book about the SMURL haunting by MAXIM FUREK, and please check that out. Billy, any comments?
No, I mean, I'm going to be looking at that. You guys might keep seeing me kind of look over my shoulder a little bit. Sounds like Petersburg in the middle of a battlefield out behind my house. I don't know whether it's fireworks or whether it's storming, but out back only.
It's probably another terrible storm.
You know how it is in the dark.
Yeah, it's been crazy every day. Every day. I got to send you a picture of one of the biggest trees out back that fell. I got to send that to you. Yeah. Thank the good Lord it did not fall on the cabin.
What kind of tree is it?
A maple. Very old.
If you get some, if you end up getting some logs, save them for me.
Save them for you?
Yeah, I might. Well, I do several projects.
Oh, you're right.
Nothing wrong with free maple.
Yeah, free maple. As long as it don't come with cabin wood, right?
Yeah,
All right.
But if they happen to get chopped up into logs, and eventually I can get them processed into an actual board or something.
Oh yeah. So I want to give a shout out to Donna. I didn't see her in here tonight, but I want to wish her a very happy birthday. And Billy, that's our cousin Donna. Yeah. Well, the girls must be drinking tea right now. I haven't heard from them in a while, so I want to give a big shout out to the listeners, and I want to thank you very much for tuning in tonight. And we'll be back again Saturday next week, same time, 7 to 9 p.m. And we're looking at some new sites that we're going to be broadcasting on. Right now, we've been doing Facebook and YouTube. So, all right. So with that said, we're going to say goodnight. Billy, stay in the green room. I'm sorry. I'll be in there to talk with you a bit.
Well, I'm going to make a brief pause for the cause because, like I said, I'm going to go check that, look out the back door and see what's going on. But I'll be right back.
You do that, sir, and I'm going to go pay the water bill.
All right. Sounds like fun.
All right. Good night, everyone.